Alright, welcome back everybody. Falcon back here again, and today we're going to finish the rest of this tier list. Last time we talked about the S tier and the A tier characters. So in this video, I'm basically going to talk about the A- down to the B- tier characters. Basically the mid tiers and the low tiers of the game, in my personal opinion. So, let's just get right into it. So for A-, Bob, extremely solid character. I think he's very underrated. I think he's also very versatile, very great pokes, rush down. He has a Mishima style wave dash, which is always interesting to have. He has a hell sweep. His lows overall are good. His combo damage is pretty good. He has pretty good tracking. He's overall just a very, 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 very solid, versatile kind of character that's relatively easy to play. Not bad character at all. Definitely strong. And I think he's definitely one of the top mid tiers. I think he's very underrated. He puts in a lot of work. Lily. I think Lily is also pretty underrated. Some people might put Lily lower, like in the B+ tier, but I think Lily's also underrated. I think she also has some extremely strong tools. Like she has down 4-3, down 3, core circle 4-3 plus 4, sidestep 1 plus 2, down 4-3 plus 4, Matterhorn. She's got some good stuff, Her movement is one of the best in the game. Her movement is very good. She has some decent lockdown tools like down 4-3 and core circle 4-3 plus 4. And, she's overall just not a bad character. She's not bad, but she does have glaring weaknesses. Like, her lows are not the best, in my opinion. And she is quite vulnerable to sidestep left. So, not the best character, but I think that she can definitely, she's absolutely usable. She again, not bad. Not bad at all. Asuka, amazing defense. She's one of the best defensive characters in the game. Her back 3, sidestep 4, 3 plus 4, 4-2 cancels. She overall just has a lot of really strong keep out tools, which is very nice. But the big problem with Asuka is that her offense is not very strong. And it's also hard to open up someone who is a turtle. If, let's say, you're playing against a Kazuya player who's turtling you, there's really not a whole lot Asuka can do. Because she's known for, if someone tries to come in and do something to her, she can just counter hit you. That's something that she has. And her wall game, I think, is also extremely good. She has really good tracking moves and 4-4-3. That move is insanely good. Oh yeah, and you also have forward 4. Also very good move. And she's also relatively easy to play. But, again, she is hard against people who turtle her. Because her offense is weak. And she has probably the worst 10-frame punish in the game. And it's just her standing jab. That's all she gets. And her standing jab is not even plus on block. So, that is a big, big problem. She has some issues with that stuff. But yeah, her panic moves and defensive stuff is extremely strong, in my opinion. I actually was going to put her in the A tier, but I decided that she does have some decent flaws. So that's why I moved her down to A-. Xiaoyu, very, very, very impressive confusion-based character. Her Art of Phoenix bullshit is very annoying. She's very evasive. She has decent fundamental tools. She has really strong mix-ups. And she has probably one of the best rage drives in the game. And because it's an unseeable low launcher that is safe on block. It's very good. She's overall, also very solid. She's very tricky as well. But when you do fight people who know the matchup, it is harder to play because you can't use as much of the cheese because they'll know how to hit you. Because if they know how to hit you out of the stances and stuff like that, Ling can struggle a little bit, but she does have some fundamental tools that can help her. So, I think Xiaoyu is definitely one of the better confusion kind of characters, outside of also Zafina. Feng Wei is kind of like an easier Jin. Basically like Jin, but easier to use. He's very versatile. He can do almost anything, except when it comes to his hop kick. His hop kick has terrible range, and his wall standing punishment also, when it comes to -12 and 13, he does have problems there. But other than that, Feng Wei is very versatile. He has great poking, great pressure. His lows are great. His combo damage, in the open, his combo damage isn't that good, but he has some tech traps that can help. He has great keep out moves. His wall game is pretty decent. He has good pressure moves, decent launchers. He has good whiff punishment. Yeah, overall a very versatile character. But his hop kick, yeah, it's not that great because of its range. And his wall standing punishment can have a little bit of problems when you're at minus 12 to 14. He doesn't really get a lot of good shit there. But other than that, very, very solid character. And he also is a character where you have to use a lot of moves to do very well with him. And I forgot to mention that he's very evasive. He has amazing panic tools when people are on him. So yeah, you have to be careful pressuring a Fengwei. They can disrespect you quite a bit. Jack, another fundamental kind of character like Kazumi and Shaheen, you know, super good pressure. His pressure is incredibly good. He has amazing low pokes. His mids are pretty solid. His 441 is an incredible tool. His combo damage is very good. He has solid wall carry. Very easy to play. But the big problem with Jack is that, is that he has such a big hitbox. His backdash is pretty decent, but he doesn't have a sidestep. You can't really sidestep with Jack, so you can't really move out of pressure very well. And he doesn't have very good panic moves outside of a dick jab. So, I mean, he has some panic moves like 4-2, but that's a high, and it's unsafe on block. And he also does have down 1+2 if you make a really good read, but it's really slow, and it is launch punishable, even though it does have pushback. So he has some panic moves, but they're just not the best. So he's more vulnerable to being pressured compared to most characters in the game. And again, he can't move as well compared to most characters in the game. But again, his offense is incredibly good, but he does have some defensive problems. Katarina is one of the easiest characters in the game. I mean, her Magic 4 is incredibly strong. She literally takes 0 execution. I mean, her combo damage is incredibly high. She has some decent mids. Her down 4-1 is pretty damn good. Even though they did nerf it, I think it's still a very good move. Her down 4-3+4 is a super annoying low. Very annoying. Minus 14 on block. I think it's +1 on hit. And on counter it gives you a good knockdown. And it hits from across the stage and high crushes. She ducks down really, really low. And, I mean, she has a snake edge. Good for newbier players. But she's not the best character. She is relatively punishable. Her frames are not the best. She doesn't have the best frames, so you can, you know, stop her out of some of her things. And she is very punishable when it comes to lows. Her lows, if the opponent can punish them, yeah, that's a big, big problem with her. But if you do make the right reads, Katarina will basically kill you, because her damage is also extremely high. And again, she doesn't take any execution, which is always nice to take in consideration of a character. How easy are they? How consistent are they? You know what I mean? So, you know, Katarina not bad, but does have some flaws. Claudio, very simplistic kind of character. You only need to use a few moves with him. You know, his hop kick is basically the best in the game. His sidestep 4 is incredible. His back 1 is ridiculously good. They buffed the shit out of that move. That move, I don't know, that move didn't need buff, but whatever. He's pretty good overall, not bad. His starburst is very unique, something very unique to Claudio. That makes him a lot more scarier when it comes to whiff punishment and wall game. And it's down to 2. If the opponent doesn't know how to block it, it's basically an unseeable, basically low launcher that on block is only minus 12. If they don't know how to block, they have to hold down back to block the second hit. If you don't know that and you hit down, you basically have to think it's coming. You have to guess. And then he has forward 1+2, 1+2 to mix up with, which is a safe national combo launcher that hits from across the stage. So yeah, Claudio's got some stuff. He's not the best at breaking a turtle. He does have a little bit of problems with that because his throws aren't very good. And they did buff his lows, so he's definitely better at it compared to how he was in Season 1 and even Season 2 because of the buff to sidestep 4. So he does better at it, but it is still a thing to keep in mind. Oh, and he also has one of the best approach moves in the game in Wild Running 2. That move is incredibly good. It is a high, though, but he has mids to mix up with. Like, you have 4-4-4 to mix up with, and if you know 100% that they're going to duck, just run in and hop kick their ass. Get some damage. So yeah, Claudio's solid as well. And again, he's very easy. Very, very easy to play. Master Raven has good space control. Her space control and keep out is very good. She has some decent pokes. She has pretty good panic moves. Her combo damage is, again, ridiculously high. It was more noticed with her in Season 1, though, and even Season 2, but it's still incredibly good. She has pretty decent evasive properties things. And overall, she has some pretty good gimmicks, decent gimmicks. And a lot of people don't know the Raven matchup. You never really see the character, so you know, not bad character. And then the last character I put in A- is Josie. Josie's got some pretty good stuff. Her strings are very good. It's kind of like a pressure-based kind of string stuff. Her mix-ups are pretty solid. Her combo damage, especially at the wall, is good. Her block punishment and whiff punishment, though, is some of the best in the game. Her down for 2 is incredibly good. They did nerf her down for 2, I think, in Season 2. Yeah, Season 2. But it's still a very good move. Block punishment, like I said, is good. She's one of the few characters that have a 13-frame while-standing launcher. Very nice. CD3 is a really good low. Mixing that up with CD2, amazing. Up for 3, that move is very good. Completely safe. Has good evasive property. Launcher. She has good homing moves in 4-4-4. Safe on block, knockdown, homing move, wall splat. That combos on counter hit. Standing 3 mix-ups are good. Down for 4 mix-ups are good. She's got some good stuff. Now, oh yeah, and her Magic 4. Her Magic 4 is also very good as well. Her lows, though, aren't the most scariest in the world. So, against a very, very strong troll that knows how to beat the strings, Josie does have problems, but other than that, I think she's great. Very solid character. Oh yeah, and her down 4 is basically a perfectly safe low. Except if you're facing characters like Lee and Lei that have 10-frame while-standing moves. Okay, so that was the A- tier. And now we're going to get to the B+ tier, which is, in my opinion, is like the mid-low tier. Like, they're alright. They're absolutely usable. I mean, every character in this game is usable, absolutely. But, you know, there's just characters that are noticeably better than them. So first up, I put Heihachi here. This might be a shocker to some people. Some people might put him in A-. The thing with Heihachi is he has really good buttons. He has amazing his mids are some of the best in the game. His pressure is really oppressive. His combo damage is very high. His rage drive is incredibly good. 10-frame counter hit launcher that is plus on block. Insanely good. He has some strings. He has some parries that are unique, and one of them launches. But there's 2 major flaws with Heihachi. And one is his punishment. His punishment for a Mishima actually is not that good. Especially his wall standing punishment. But for standing punishment, he does not have an easy mode 15-frame punish. You have the electric. And most people won't be able to do that. So most of the time, Heihachi players will not be able to launch -15 and even -16 moves. So you can get away with that stuff a little bit more against Heihachi. Because most people will not know how to electric. Because, you know, they don't have the execution for it. Now, there are a few Heihachis that can do so, but it's very difficult. And his wall standing punishment is also a huge problem. So up from -11 to 14 is great. He has good punishment there. But then we get to 15 frames, again, no launch. No launch at 15 frames, 16 frames, or 17 frames. His launcher, which he got in Season 3, was wall standing 3, 1+2, 18 frames. That's still a bit slow, but it is something, I guess, to punish big sweeps. But the problem is with that is that the follow-up combo afterwards is just so inconsistent. The Hell Sweep follow-up it's like almost frame perfect. It is legit almost frame perfect to do. It's very hard to do, especially online in a match. It's very hard to do. It's possible, but very hard. And, you know, before that, people had to basically do crouch cancel electric to get a launch. And again, most people don't know how to do that. Some people don't even know how to crouch cancel. So basically, against some Heihachi players, they won't even launch you even if you do like a snake edge or something. That's a big problem with Heihachi. He's very inconsistent when it comes to punishment. Very inconsistent. And his lows are also a big problem. Sure, he has down back 2, which is a chunk of damage, +6 on hit, has good range and high crushes, but it's -18. Launch punishable. His Hell Sweep, they did buff his Hell Sweep for Season 3. The second Hell Sweep, if that's blocked, it's only -10 instead of -11 or 12. That is a really big buff. That was really good, a really nice buff. The first Hell Sweep is launch punishable, and his Hell Sweep, it just leads to a 50-50 mix-up afterwards. But it's still good because the second kick is relatively safe. Most people won't even dick jab it. They'll try to wall stand 4 and they'll be like, wait, what? And then you can block it. So against most players, you can get away with the second kick on block. You can get away with it. And even if it's a jig jab, it's like, who cares? Like, it does, like, no damage. And then you have the health sweep into the boss setting 4, which is okay. But again, his health sweep is easily the worst out of the Mishimas. His down back 3 is launch punish roll, does, like, no reward. The safest low he has is his generic down 4, which is minus 13. So some characters can launch that. Yeah. Still a problem. And then he just has to have his full crouch sweep, which can be annoying to deal with, because some people will spam it. It does give a guaranteed 4-4-2, which is great. But again, launch punishable, so there's risk. And he also has forward neutral, down, down 4, hold 3, knockdown for free 4-4-2. But again, super slow and launch punishable. And you can fuzzy guard that. So if you want to low poke with him, he has to take huge risks to low poke. And that's why I think Heihachi has humongous problems when it comes to things like that. His mids are great, his pressure is great, but the punishment in the lows is just, it's such a huge fall where I had to drop him down to the B plus tier. I had to drop him. Had to. Lars, we all know Lars isn't very strong. He does have great combos. His combos are amazing. His block punishment, however, is actually very underrated. His block punishment is really good. He does have a standing 14-frame launcher and 4-back-2-1, kind of like a jet up with Brian. You need to keep that in mind. His 12-frame punish is also incredibly good in 4-2-4, you know? So he has some hit, and his wall swing punishment is pretty good too. So his punishment is actually great. But the biggest problems with Lars, oh yeah, I forgot to mention his orbital, up forward 4, really good move. He has some evasion moves, but they did nerf him, like up lightning screw. But the big problems with Lars is that, one, kind of like with Heihachi, his lows are so risky. Almost every low he has, outside of full crouch down for 1-2, is super high risk. Down 1+2, launch punishable. Down back 4, launch punishable. 4-4-3+4, launch punishable. Oh yeah, his hell sweep 4-4-4-3, launch punishable. They're just super high risk when it comes to lows. His down 3 isn't very scary. His full crouch down for 1+2 is his best low, but it only gives +1 on hit. And you have to go in full crouch to get that low to come out. And on block it is only -12 though, which is good. But, you know, it's not the best. And also, Lars is super vulnerable to sidestep right. Super vulnerable. You can step almost everything he does sidestep right. Outside of back 1, and like outside of his homing moves. Back 1 is a good move though. That is a good move. It knocks down and counter hit. So, still has problems, but I forgot to mention he is still a very strong mix-up based character. I think that's what they wanted Lars to be in this game, is a mix-up based character in Season 2. He has some solid mix-ups. I'll give him that. But, yeah, I don't think that's enough. Because if you guess wrong, you know, sometimes he could be taking a risk. Oh, but he did get a 10-frame counter hit knockdown wall spot in 1-1-1. That's nice to have. That's nice. And I did buff some of his frames for Season 3. So this Lars right now is definitely a lot stronger than Season 1 Lars. Much better. But he still has big problems. So that's why I'm still going to put him in B+. He was going to be in B-, but like, you know, he has some decent stuff. Like he's not useless. Like garbage. He is usable. But very hard to play at a higher level. Nina, I don't think Nina's very good, to be honest. There's really nothing that this character does to me that's like super scary. She does have some decent strings and pressure stuff that she does have. Like her close range game is good. However, if you know how to beat the strings and beat her offense, then there's nothing this character does that scares me. Her combos are pretty good, but you need execution. Overall, this character needs execution. And her range game is like non-existent. She has no range game. They're either very predictable. Most moves that Nina's would go in with are just super predictable. They're either very linear or punishable or, you know, stuff like that. So, to be honest with you, there's nothing Nina does that I consider a threat, to be honest with you. I think she needs big buffs, in my opinion. I just don't think she's, like, a huge threat, in my opinion. Sometimes I even think Anna could be better, but that depends. Chloe, I'm not the most knowledgeable on. Her damage is explosive, especially with her Cali roll. Her Cali roll is super fucking annoying. Her overall, she has pretty decent evasive properties and counter hit tools. Her sidestep 4 is a decent low. She has some gimmicks. Her strings are pretty good. Her jab strings are pretty good. Her punishment is it's okay. She does have a 14 frame while staying launcher, which is nice, but you know, that's everything special. And she does have range problems. Her range game is not very good. So if you turtle against a Chloe and they're guessing around your mix-ups, Chloe dies. But she is so annoying to fight, though. I'll give her that. She's fucking irritating. Oh yeah, her 3-4 is a pretty good counter hit launcher. It's kind of confirmable now. Like her down for 1 is pretty good too. She does have some pretty good stuff, and her hop kick is also very good, even though it is launch punishable. She's the only character in the game to have a launch punishable hop kick, which is very interesting. Eddie, super good mix-ups, has pretty good poking for a character like him that's very confusion-based, and his backdash is one of the best in the game. His backdash is incredibly good. So spacing you is great. His punishment, his wall standing punishment is good, but his standing punishment, it's not bad. Like they've been buffing it. Like back 2-4 is a good 14 frame. He has a 15 frame launcher, but 12 frames was always very lacking with him, but he did get forward 2-3. But the problem is even on hit, that move can be punished. And if you just want something simple, you can just rage art and he'll always get hit by it. There's nothing that any player can do. So, and I'm surprised they haven't fixed it yet. I hope in this next update in the season 4 that they make 4-4 plus, more plus. Make it like +9 or something, just so the opponent cannot do anything afterward. They can't rage art you, and you can do a mix-up. So as of right now, that is one of the worst 12 frame punishers in the game just because of that. That's a big problem. Or make it so you can't go into handstand or something. I don't know. Do something with it. And Eddie takes risks. If you know the strings, if you know the mix-ups, and you counter it properly, there's nothing this character does that can really be super, super threatening. If you're just backdashing and turtling away, because his keep out is really good with his sidestep 3+4, and even his sidestep 4, if you're just turtling, there's like nothing that Eddie's going to be able to do to scare you. While running 3 is linear, you can block it. And if you try to mix it up with 4-4-3, again, that can be stepped and punished. So, yeah, it's not that good. And Eddie has no sidestep. Eddie has the worst sidestep in the game. He cannot step shit. So yeah, this character, if the opponent knows the matchup, you have to work really hard to play Eddie. Play Eddie well. Eliza, super annoying gimmicks. She's basically the gimmicky 2D character of the game. Her wall game is ridiculously stupid. Her combos in general are amazing. She has great panic moves. Her dive kicks are super annoying. And she has a dark wave, which is nice to have. She's overall okay, but the problem with her though is that her frames are fucking terrible. That is something that does hold her back, and she can be quite unsafe. But again, this is like, if you know the matchup, yeah, you will destroy Eliza. But the reason why I decided to put her in the B+ tier is because most people don't know how to beat her. Most people will struggle against her, and you'll beat the shit out of them for free. So this is the reason why I think Eliza is better than people think she is. Some people think she's useless. No, she's not useless. She will destroy you if you don't know the matchup. Even I'm not the best with the matchup, and I get blown up. And you never see Eliza anyway. So yeah, Eliza, I think she's underrated. I think she definitely put in work, but in the end, she does have big frame problems. But again, she's not meant to have good frames. If she had good frames, like, no one would play any other 2 characters. They would just play Eliza. They wouldn't play Akuma. They wouldn't play Geese. Maybe some would still play Geese, but I don't know. Miguel originally was in the A- tier, but because of the nerfs that he got in Season 3, that really hurt him. His range is still a huge problem even now. I don't know why they nerfed his range even in the first place, because he's a brawler. So yeah, his range, and he's also quite linear outside of 4-4. That is a good move. And they nerfed some of his key moves. Like, his Magic 4 got nerfed. His Savage Down Back 3 got nerfed. Savage Down Forward 2 got nerfed. All of his key moves got nerfed. Even though Savage 2 is safe now, which is always nice. I like that. And his Rage Drive also got buffed, which it needed a buff. I don't know why it wasn't buffed in Season 2, but they finally made it like, you actually get good damage from his Rage Drive now, thank God. But like, he's not a bad character by any means. Like he's solid. He has pretty good pressure and decent get-in tools, but not the best. And he has good good wall travel and good wall damage. But because of his range problems, like, you know, I have to, and because of the big nerfs he did get in Season 3, I did have to drop him down to B+. But again, he is usable. Absolutely usable. Lee's always been a character to me where it's like, this character works way too hard for the output you get. That's always what I've thought about him ever since Season 1. And see, this Lee, I will say, I think is better than Season 1 Lee, but he's worse than Season 2 Lee. Season 2 Lee was the best Lee. But they nerfed Lee coming into Season 3, but made him easier. I don't know why they did that, because Lee's identity was basically everything was hard with the character. Now, he's easier. He's still very hard, though. Still very high in execution. He's one of the most high execution characters in the game with his back 2 cancels. But the reason why I put Lee here is just because he lacks an identity. He just doesn't really specialize in anything. His wall travel was his identity. And it's not like they nerfed it, because they didn't, but it's like every character basically in Season 3 can do incredibly ridiculous combos that travel wall to wall that is easier to do. So, because they did that, it doesn't make Lee as special. It makes it just like, oh, okay, he can do this. But it's like, it's harder, so I may as well just play with a character like, Fakaram. That can basically do the same thing, but way more consistent. Jin can do it way more consistently, even though he's still a hard character. You know what I mean? It's like a shitload of characters in this game got humongous wall travel tools. So Lee just isn't as special with it anymore. He's still really good at it, but it's like, it's just too hard for what you get. His lows are also a problem outside of the slide. His slide is good. He has a decent full crouch mix-up, which is nice. He has some tools, like his down for 1 is good. His keep out is very good though. He has a great magic 4. His back 4 is an incredibly good tool. His 4-4-3 is a good move. Like, he has some decent stuff, and his hitman stance is pretty good. But just compared to other characters in the game, that like the environment that this Lee is in, I just don't see Lee as a strong character right now. He also needs big buffs, in my opinion. He's usable. He has some decent tools. I'm not saying the character is garbage, because he isn't, but he's just way too hard, in my opinion, for what you get. I've really struggled with this character just because of that. It is what it is. Noctis, I was originally going to put Noctis in A-. I think he does have a lot of decent cheesy attacks, and he does have some pretty good moves in general. His combo damage is great. His wall travel is great. He has some cheesy moves like the Aura, down back 2, while running 1+2. Those moves alone, even though all those moves have been nerfed, thank God, they are still very, very strong moves. And they're still very good. And if you mix 4-1+2 up with 4-4-1, if you mix up while running 1+2 with 4-4-1+2, most people won't even sidestep. They'll just have to sit there. And his parry is also good. And his range is incredibly good with his sword. But the big problem with Noctis is that he really chokes under pressure. Because, 1, he doesn't have amazing panic moves. His down 4-2 is too risky, in my opinion. And he does not have a dig jab. That is a big deal. Big problem. I mean, nobody in this game... Is there anyone in this game that doesn't have a dig jab? Oh, okay, fine. Yoshi doesn't have a dig jab from his sword stance, but at the same time, Yoshi doesn't really need a dig jab. And we'll get to Yoshi in a second, but other than Yoshi, I don't think there's any character in this game that doesn't have a dig jab from standing. So Noctis definitely chokes under pressure more than other characters, but once you're at that range, you know what you're doing, Noctis is very solid. But because of the pressure problems he has, his defensive problems, I had to lower him on the tier list. But again, he's not bad at all. And he's very easy. He's very, very easy, which makes him very consistent. So I like that with Noctis. Lei, basically also another confusion kind of character. The bag of tricks. He has a lot of bullshit attacks. But he's basically like Xiaoyu, Zafina, Eddie, Eliza, the confusion kind of characters. But the thing with Lei is that, again, he just doesn't have good frames. His frames and his pokes are not good. But at the same time, Lei does not need good pokes. If this character had good pokes, Lei would easily be an A or S tier. Easily be up there. You can even argue him being S tier if he had good pokes and frames. So I'm glad he doesn't have that, because he doesn't need it. But yeah, his mix-ups, his stance, his Razor Rush is incredibly annoying to deal with, and all the 50-50 mix-ups. I hate fighting this character really because of that, because I always feel like I'm in a 50-50 against him, which I'm not a fan of. And Razor Rush is a super good tool to get in with. And his 4-4-3 is one hell of a whiff punish. And his ball travel is pretty solid too. He has good damage as well. But again, his frames and poking, that is a problem in this game. And the final character I put in B+, I put Anna. Anna is, I don't think Anna's not really designed to be a strong character. She's this high risk, high reward kind of character. That's basically Anna. Her 50-50s though, again, are fucking annoying. This is another character I don't like fighting because I always feel like I'm in a 50-50. Her full crush mix-ups are some of the best in the game, even though they are risky. Her combo damage is incredibly high. Her Rage Art is one of the best in the game, in my opinion. Super long range and 13 frames fast, so that's really good. And yeah, overall, like if you're not, this character really depends on the read. If you make all the right reads, you basically destroy your opponent. But if the opponent makes the right reads on you, you get destroyed in 10 seconds. That's basically how Anna works. And that's why I don't think Anna's a good character. Her frames and poking, I think her frames are better than people think. I think her poking is okay. It's not bad. She does have a 13 frame down forward 1. Her down forward 4 has great frames, but it is launch punishable. That's a big problem. And she has decent whiff punishment. Her 4-4-2 is a good move. And she has some of the best get-in tools in the game. Her CD1, 4-4-2, even her 4-4-3. She has some really good get-in tools. And she has pretty decent counter hit tools as well. So Anna does have some decent stuff, but again, she's just so punishable. Very punishable. Her frames kind of suck. She's quite vulnerable to sidestep left, and her block punishment is some of the worst in the game. She does not have 15 frame launchers for standing or while standing. They both, her down forward 2 I think comes out in 17 frames, and her while standing 2 comes out in 18 frames. Now when you're at minus 10 or 11, Anna does have good shit because you can go into Chaos Judgment and get mix-ups from there, and it can do a lot of damage. So her 10 and 11 frame punishes are good, but once you have to 15, again, big problems with Anna. Big problems. So that's basically the B+ tier, in my opinion. And now we're finally at the B- tier. And in the B- tier, I've got Armor King, Yoshi, the Bears, and Gigas. My boy Gigas at the bottom. Let's start with Armor King. Armor King kind of reminds me of Lee in a sense that, to me, Armor King just doesn't have an identity. He's just another character that I just don't feel is special. He just doesn't really do anything incredibly well. Like, he's not really known for anything. The only thing you could say that he's known for is his dark uppercut. That's really about it. I mean, his poking is pretty decent. His throws are good. I'll give him that much. His throws are good, but King has better throws. His combo damage is very high, but other characters can probably do more damage. That's just Season 3 in general. Season 2, it was more noticeable, but in Season 3, it's like anyone can do a bunch of damage. So I was like, even with Arm King, that's not really special. And again, his throws, King has better throws. He doesn't have any good mids. His mids are very lackluster. They nerfed the shit out of a lot of his mids. Like, down 2 got nerfed to the ground because of the extension it got, which is good for wall combos, but I'd rather have the old down 2, the tag 2 one. And the biggest problem is his sidestep 2 getting nerfed. His sidestep 2 used to knock down in tag 2 for a guaranteed 3+4. That was incredibly good. But now it doesn't knock down anymore, so that isn't really a good mid anymore to use. Unless if you commit to the full death sandwich, which I think is minus 13 on block. His lows I will admit are better than King's, but again, they're nothing too insane. His down 4 is good, but not super scary. His down back 3 it's good online, but it's super punishable. His down back 4 is the drop kick, but again, King has that. Down 3, King has that. Even though on counter, Armor King's does give +9, King's doesn't, but it's like, King doesn't need that. 4-4 neutral 2, Okay, but again, King has the same thing. Exact same move. And, yeah, there's just, to be honest with you, I just don't see any reason to play Armor King right now when you could just play King. And another thing that I don't like about Armor King is the environment that this Armor King is in. This Armor King is in a game where the movement has been nerfed. And Armor King was known for movement into Dark Uppercut. That was very powerful. But in this game, they nerfed the movement. So you can't really take advantage of that as much. Especially because of the tag system. So to be honest with you, and also combine this with everyone on most characters in this game were weaker in tag too. In this game, they got buff, buff, buff. Ganryu, buff, buff, buff. Julia, same thing, just buff, buff, buff. And Armor King is getting nerfed. So yeah, this Armor King, he's still a badass, but this Armor King, gameplay-wise, he just doesn't specialize in anything. There's no reason really to play Armor King right now where you can play King. Just doesn't have an identity, which is very unfortunate, even though he is very popular. Like, I see Armor King all the time. But you have to be a super strong player to play Armor King. He's one of the hardest characters in the game to use, in my opinion. Yoshi, just like with Lei and the other characters, another very confusion-based character. He has a shitload of gimmicks, a shitload of bullshit setups, bullshit unblockables. He has some of the best unblockables in the game. He has great tech traps. And he has amazing panic moves. His flash is one of the most yeah, it's an insanely good move. 6-frame launcher. Yeah, that's really good. So it's really good at punishing. He can launch punish spring get-up kicks with that flash, which is very powerful. He does have some over-the-top tools like that, and his spin around, like he can really disrespect your frames. Yoshi is good at disrespecting frames. He can do that. But excuse me, the problem with Yoshi is that he doesn't have good frames at all. He has basically no poking outside down forward, but his down forward 1 sucks in my opinion. His down forward 1 is not good. It's not a good down forward 1. His down forward 2 is good. He does have a wall combo now with 3 to the 4-4. Previously, he didn't even have a wall combo. But again, Yoshi's a character that he's not really meant to be strong. He's meant to be this bullshit flowcharty gimmick character. He's not supposed to have good frames. So Yoshi's honestly supposed to suck. But again, his gimmicks are incredibly fun. He's very fun to use. But if we're being real, I don't think Yoshi, he's just too inconsistent. He's way too inconsistent in my opinion, especially at higher levels of play. If the opponent knows the matchup, you know, the Yoshi's going to have a really tough time doing anything. Let me get some water, guys, and I'll talk about the next character. Okay. Let's continue with bears. So bears also have incredibly good gimmicks. Their gimmicks are also some of the best in the game. They are very annoying to fight. They have some decent moves, but just like with Yoshi, they have terrible frames. It's just like with Yoshi. Super good gimmicks. They have the bag of tricks. Very trolly characters. But again, their poking is awful. Their down forward 1... just, yeah, one of the worst down for ones in the game. He does have down back 2, which is a good low poke. You know, it gives some frames on hit. I think it's only -13. Has good range, high crushes. That's a good low. His 2-1 is kind of like Jin's. Not bad. Has extensions. Not bad at all. What else does he have when it comes to poking? Oh, yeah, he has one of the best power crushes. His back one is a really annoying power crush. Oh, yeah, he does have a hop kick. He has one of the better hop kicks in the game, even though it doesn't have a lot of range. There's a lot of uses for it. His combo damage is solid. He has pretty good Oki with hunting bear stance. He has good tech traps and just mix-ups in general. But again, once the opponent knows how to deal with those mix-ups and those traps and tricks and stuff, you need the fundamental tools, and the bears do not have that, which again makes them very inconsistent. And they also have a weird-ass hitbox as well. Like, they're just overall really trolly characters. I don't like fighting these characters, but in reality, they're not strong characters. And again, they're not supposed to be. They're not supposed to be strong. But oh yeah, he also does have forward 1-1-1, you know, which is a and his jab. Actually, I'll mention this. His jab is actually pretty good. He has one of the better jabs in the game. It has pretty good range, and his 1-1-1 is great. It's a counter hit launcher, even though the whole thing is launch punishable. It is a decent panic move. He does have some panic moves. And his back one power crush is pretty good. And he has his hop kick. So he has some panic moves that they're pressuring him. But you are taking a risk. You're taking a risk. And then the final character in the B- tier, you all guessed who it was going to be. Gigas. Now, here's the thing with Gigas. I think Gigas is better than people think. People think that Gigas is like completely useless. That is not the case. Gigas is not useless. He is absolutely usable. But you have to be super strong fundamental-wise. Because unlike characters like Kuma, for example, Gigas doesn't have... I mean, Gigas' frames are, I will say, better than Kuma's and Yoshi's. But they're still not amazing. He still doesn't have amazing frames. But the thing with Yoshi and Bears is at least they have gimmicks. Very good gimmicks. Gigas doesn't really have any gimmicks. Maybe the back 2 charge you could say is a gimmick, but like, I mean, it doesn't really work that well, to be honest. I mean, it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Like, it does work. But like Fulcrum has the same thing basically, but his is a lot more useful, in my opinion, compared to Gigas's. But the big problem I have with Gigas is, one, he has no movement. His movement is basically the worst in the game. His backdash sucks. His sidestep sucks. He can't move around pressure. And he's also super vulnerable to being pressured. He doesn't have any panic moves outside of a dick jab. And his power crush is way too slow. It's 30 frames. And his down 3+4 power crush, I've gotten it to work a few times, but there is still risk involved with it. You can still be grabbed out of it. You can still be hit low. So keep that in mind. He cannot take pressure at all. Basically no panic moves, no movement. Frames aren't very good. His grabs, his 1+2 grab is really fucking good. But if the opponent knows how to break that, you basically can't even open a turtle with grabs. You're going to have to use his lows. He has down back 2. That's a good low. But it's like, Marduk has the same thing, but better. You know? He does have 4-4-2. That's a good move. But the problem is, if that move whiffs, you're basically dead. He recovers forever on a lot of his moves on whiff. That's a big problem. He's also very vulnerable to sidestep. He doesn't track very well. That back 2 does track a little bit, but it can still be stepped if you're timed correctly. And his wall staying punishment also isn't very good. His wall staying punishment sucks. Because again, his launcher doesn't come out until 18 frames. Just like Marduk's. But I'll say that Gigas' wall staying punishment is better than Marduk's, but it still sucks. But his standing punishment, though, is very good. And it's very simplistic to understand. You just need 1, 2, and down 2. That's it. And he also just takes so long to really get going. Like his back 1+2, that's one of his pressure moves. It's like 23 or 24 frames. It's super slow. Super slow. Even though it does give +4 on block, which is good. And his jab, I will say, is one of the best in the game. His jab is fucking good. And his down for 1 is pretty good. But it's like, that's all. Like, there's just, again, especially if someone's turtling you, again, there's just nothing really Gigas can do about it. And he has some of the worst strings in the game. I mean, because, like, if you're just turtling and being careful when you're pushing buttons, Gigas is literally not going to do any damage to you. Literally nothing. His combo damage is good, though. And it's very easy. But again, if you're not being stupid, Gigas is not going to, there's nothing he really has that's going to really, really scare you. Like, really scare you. His rage drive is also one of the worst in the game. You can see it on reaction and just jump over it. And then you won't get stunned from his Goliath. And you can punish him. Launch him. His rage art also is terrible. Has a terrible vertical hitbox. He'll jump over the opponent sometimes. Especially when they're on the ground. So yeah, Gigas has humongous problems. Big problems. Now, like I said, he's better than people think. I think he's still usable. You know, people like doctoring one of the best Gigases. He literally made it to the finals, grand finals, with Gigas. Yeah. That's pretty impressive, don't you think? So it's like, you can make Gigas work. Any character in this game you can make work. Same thing with Kuma and Panda. Like, I don't even have to mention Rangchu. But, in reality, again, Gigas is not a good character at all. Has huge weaknesses. And, yeah, that basically covers my, tier list. I decided to make 2 parts to this just because I didn't want the list going for too long. But I hope you guys, enjoyed my, my opinions on some of these characters. I think this is a solid tier list. I'm not saying it's the best tier list, but this is just my personal opinion. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. So thank you everyone for stopping by. This is Falcon. I'll catch you guys into the Soul Calibur tier list. Peace out.